We do have a special guest, Benjamin Wey from New York, on this Chinese investment story. You are the CEO of New York Global Group, a strategic advisory firm that focuses on, essentially, these deals. Welcome to the show. Let me just start. Does CFIUS, well, first of all, help us define what it is, and does it help these deals move along?
Well, you have to really just ask a very good question, because many of the deals from China or elsewhere that come to the States do have to go through the same process. The larger deals they get, actually, the more scrutiny there might be. And it's not been too easy for many Chinese companies. And certainly there are a lot of issues involved in terms of clearing those CFIUS requirements. But it's a necessary process because this country is very open. It's open democracy. It's very important to be transparent in the application process.
But Benjamin, the Chinese have said on occasions that CFIUS and other things related to CFIUS makes it less appealing to come to the United States. I mean, these aren't my words. These are other people in the business community who say, hey, this makes it difficult. I mean, what would you tell them?
Well, I think I would tell them they're absolutely right. More regulations are probably not going to make business move faster. But we have also looked at it from a national interest point of view. In the United States, there are many areas of interest that may or may not be available to the foreign investors. Remember the 1980s and 1990s when we used to do deals in China? There were certain sectors that were restricted, certain sectors widely open, certain sectors are sort of a welcome or not. I guess there's a similar pattern as more Chinese companies that come to the U.S. They're currently experiencing the same ideas and same thought and same philosophy. So fundamentally, it's all about complying with the U.S. laws and regulations and being transparent. In that process, as long as the right advisors are involved, I think the right deals will get done.
I mean, you mean hiring advisors like people like yourselves and other folks here in Washington, D.C. that advise companies on how to get these deals approved. What's the biggest mistake that companies make?
A lot of times we run into deals that companies, it seems like they have very unrealistic expectations in terms of timing, in terms of the terms, in terms of other things. And many times they need to be sensitive about what customers want. I have a very good friend of mine, his name is Tom Harris. He runs one of the best operated New York Stock Exchange listed companies called Cambridge Alliance Capital. They have a lot of customers that's asking for the same kind of service and help. How many of those Chinese customers that truly understand the U.S. philosophy, cultures, and people? Probably take a little bit of learning experience. I would consider that a very necessary step to make sure we have the necessary compliance and procedures in place so that we can possibly get the deals done. Transparency is everything.
All right, speaking of which, you're speaking about the Chinese coming to the United States and getting these deals. I'm just curious, for the other way around, for U.S. companies looking to move into China, do they face anything similar to what the Chinese are facing with respect to something like CFIUS?
Absolutely correct, because since the 1980s, as we all recall, since Deng Xiaoping says open up China, the country has gone through 40+ years of economic prosperity. In these many, many years of economic growth, there were many new rules and regulations that were placed, especially in the recent years. Rules were there for a good reason. I firmly believe complying with the necessary rules and regulations in that particular jurisdiction is absolute necessity. And the other way around would be very difficult. We've been doing deals with the Chinese for the last 2 decades. I'm a Chinese American. I speak the language. I can share with you, doing business in China is getting more complex also than it was 20 years ago.
When you think about all these deals that you've worked on around the world, specifically from China coming to the United States, does it help when a company says, we're going to create jobs, we're going to bring in employees, we're going to make sure that we bring in the local economy and sort of the culture of that local environment? Do all those things come into play?
Absolutely correct, they do. I was in Washington, D.C. just 2 days ago, met some congressional representatives, and first thing out of these people's mouth actually was, how many jobs are you going to be able to generate for our local economy? It's very important for foreign investors that go to China to tell the Chinese government how many jobs they can create and how much tax revenue they're able to generate. And likewise for the other way around, with Chinese business coming to U.S. communities, and people are very concerned about whether American jobs might be lost. These are very serious concerns because they do affect people's livelihood. So these are very sensitive issues, particularly in American democracy, with representatives in Congress. They do have very many mandates that really are out there to generate American jobs. They're very, very sensitive. So paying attention to local culture and also many sensitivity areas are very, very critical for any successful transaction.
Certainly good advice. CEO of New York Global Group, Benjamin Wey, thank you very much, live for us in New York City.